All right, while we are waiting for a few others to join, can we have some show of hands here? How many of you people coming to IGDC for the first time? Wow, wonderful, great. And how many of you are game developers here? Brilliant, brilliant. And one last question, how many of you are building games for Indian audiences? Lovely. Great. Again, thanks so much for showing up here. And I can quickly introduce myself, and I'll have all guests here introducing themselves. But before that, I would like to tell you that India Game Developer Conference is a not-for-profit conference. It's the 15th year this year, and it's been organized by all the volunteers, I mean, which some of you are here also. And like this year, we have like almost like 40 volunteers from 27 different companies and helping this event organize. And we have almost like 4,000 people. And thanks to our sponsors here, Unreal, Nazara, Mixi, and Crofton. Because of them, we are able to do it. My name is Imtiaz Hussain, and I'm a co-founder of a gaming company called Yes Gnome. And I will be the moderator today, and I'll have gentlemen here to start, introducing yourself. Maybe like you might like to talk what you do, and maybe we can talk about any book that you're reading these days, and that you recommend everyone to read, or maybe a Netflix show.
Yeah, I'm Adi. I used to be in the music business for the longest time before I came to Google. And there I used to enjoy working with the creative community, and I thought that was the coolest creative community. And then I saw gaming. I think this is literally the most creative community of today. And the store we run, I like to think about it as a great partnership with this creative community. I think of the store as the canvas, and you, the developers, as the artists. And when it comes together, that's when the magic really happens. I find it amazing that you could build a game in Meerut, and somebody in Michigan could be playing it. And that's the power of technology and the power of wonderful content. What I'm watching on Netflix, I'm watching Lupin. I don't know how many, anyone here has seen Lupin, watching Lupin? Yeah, the third season is just amazing, and I'm waiting for more.
Sure, great. Meerut to Michigan. Yeah, I like it. Rajan, you might like to go for it.
Hi, I'm Rajan Navani. I'm the founder and CEO of Jet Synthesis. We've been, at the gaming ecosystem level playing for now nearly a decade, really looking at gaming as a holistic ecosystem. So started out actually initially with esports as the end game where you would like a casual gamer to reach, but along the way got into game development, investments in studios, and also built a pretty interesting global business, and we'll talk more about that. We also operate in the ecosystems of music and video entertainment, and also the concerns of Gen Zs, that's in wellness and livelihoods. What I'm reading is something that's, I think, all of you I would request to be present in is In the Now. The Power of Now by Eckhart, I think is a very, very powerful book. And I would strongly recommend most people to find a way how you can, irrespective of where your mind or your thoughts are, get yourself back into the now and be here. So, interesting book. Thank you.
Thanks, Rajan. Saurabh, you might like to go next step.
Hi, I am Saurabh Agarwal. I am the CEO and founder at Octro. We've been a gaming company in India for the last decade, right? 2012 was when we pivoted into gaming. Octro was lucky enough to actually launch India's first successful, title, Teen Patti, back in 2013-14. We've been continuously running that. Plus, we've sort of, launched, dozens of titles in other genres as well. Some of our successful genres are, real money gaming. We have Tambola. We have Indian Rummy on the social side. We're right now, looking at expanding our market into the US with, a very high quality 3D poker title called Octro Poker, right? So yeah, I mean, we're doing slots, a bunch of different titles that work across different geographies and such. It's interesting that at a gaming conference, Imtiaz is asking what we are doing for entertainments outside of gaming.
Okay, okay,
right
what
question
game are you playing?
what
Assuming
games
that
are we
everybody's
playing?
gaming. This is beyond gaming.
Your game.
Yeah, on Netflix, I'm watching Fodder. I think it's right now very, it sort of connects the Israel-Palestine issue. And, it's sort of very interesting to watch at this point of time.
So one of my favorite shows, yeah. Afsar, you might like to introduce yourself.
So I'm Afsar Ahmed. I'm co-founder of Gameberry Labs. At Gameberry, the known games that we have built is Ludo Star, Parcheesi Star. Both these games are actually played across 13 different countries with more than 400, 500K MAU every month. These games are primarily, if you look at the audience base, it's primarily coming from MENA, Spain, US, Morocco, all these countries. Apart from these board games that we have built, we are also venturing into puzzle genre as well, which is why we started Matchstar 3D. It's a 3D puzzle game which we have recently started. As for me, I am a product person who loves building games all together. I mean, I bring art, technologies, or everything together to unleash the power of creativity, and that's what I like, and that's the thing which brought me to gaming, and I have never left gaming after that. The book I am reading right now is The Happiness Trap, and it has very close context to what you said about being in present. It's very close to that as well. At the end, I think all the books have the same context, it's just the message is different. I think that's the book I am reading. And the game that I'm playing, that I'll additionally add, is back to Clash of Clans.
Wonderful. I'm glad that you're not playing your own game. So, great, guys. Just want to make sure that you can hear us okay, right? I mean, I have little trouble hearing, but okay, fine, good. Great. So we'll start off the bat. I would like to, since we have Addy here, some insights what you're seeing these days. If you like, I know you did a session already around this, but since we have audience here, maybe you would like to highlight what's happening and how do you see something that is shareable enough.
So in my world, within my company, when I talk to people in other countries, they would always say, oh, India has a lot of players, but there's no money to be made in India. I think that is what has changed fundamentally in the last 18 months. Today, there is active commerce in India. We talked about a number in the morning. As per the Limakai report, there are 140 million paying players in India. That means there is no industry, no digital industry in India that has more paying users than gaming. And that's been a fundamental shift. And I think when you have this user base, ARPUs are low, but the ARPUs are still going up. They're all in the $18 to $20 range, but I think that's a good place for us to be. So I think one, that's been a big shift. Second, I think a lot of global studios who wanted to come to India launched their game in India as is. But now there is this whole localization framework that studios are following. And we talked about BGMI and Free Fire in the morning, but whether it's Roblox, whether it's Pokemon Go, whether it's Clash of Clans, they're all doing so much localization, which comes very naturally to an Indian studio. Yep. So I think that's what they are trying to learn. I think it's a good opportunity for global-local partnership because you come with a great quality game. I think something that's potentially where we have a gap, but those folks don't have the tricks of succeeding in India. So I think you're seeing localization and what that really means. Yeah. And to just give you an example, many games from global are being launched in India without UPI as a form of payment. It's as simple as that. But I think anybody here would build the game will put UPI as their first form of payment. So I think simple things like that are happening more. And third, I think Indian developers, I feel that's the real thing for us to crack. We need one game from India to really break through globally. We need $1 billion title from India. That will change the development opportunity as India as a country. So I feel we're doing many games. We're running a bunch of accelerators. But I feel we need $1 billion game coming out of India. And I think that day is not far away. And that will be maybe the turning point for us totally as a gaming industry.
Interesting. And Rajan, you actually building a conglomerate and having all the things from the ecosystem. You have esports company, you have incubator, you have your own, maybe like top cricket games right now, and so which is close to your heart. I mean, out of all this, I'm sure you'll say, hey, all are my kids.
All his children are close to his heart.
So
No.
What are you most excited about, if I may?
Actually, what excites me is all of this working together. I think what Aditya said, you build a house, you put different pillars, and then, finally you're putting it all together, right? And I think that was our approach when we built Jet Synthesis, really saying there is this large Gen Z population in India that is going to be connected through mobile devices to many things, particularly what their passions are. And gaming clearly stood out as a two-way interaction. And our first thing was to see how do you create aspiration in a gamer to be able to play more, right? Why do we all make money? Because gamers play more. So there's nothing like, seeing someone become a professional, seeing someone being recognized, right from putting gamers, I remember in the early days, on 70,000 Mountain Dew bottles because, for a child to go back to their house and say, see, I could be on a bottle too, whatever it takes in terms of recognition or, even financial incentives to be able to emerge a winner like in any other sport. So we took that route. Sure. So we said, if you can create aspiration and you can showcase the best in a particular sport or industry or a game, that way we can look at the top of the funnel. So of course, at the top of the funnel, then we looked at, both mid-core games, casual games, and with cricket simulation is something that we've been able to, achieve significant success. I think between Real Cricket and Sachin Saga, we have a significant leadership globally in that area through esports with Nodwin initially and then with Sky Sports, really controlled and pioneered a large part of the ecosystem here. And then now through investing in global gaming studios, through Jetapult and many other models, and particularly our global business in Japan and US, we are now able to integrate all of these together. And to me, that's most exciting, that we are at a time, like what Aditya said, when the India market is beginning to show tremendous promise in terms of spends. The world is looking at options in new markets, for where their best products can come. And there's a huge talent pool advantage that I think most of us talk about. So for India to become center stage in gaming and esports, I think the next 5 years are going to really be very defining in what we do. So that's how we are looking at this space.
100% agreed. And so Saurabh, as the founder of Octro, and I see him, his game in top charts all the time, and he has been doing that successfully for over the years. I think most of us want to understand the secret sauce. What was the secret sauce? If you have some inputs there, and did you see any change in the trends of how people are, since you are top grosser, any payment methods or payment patterns or any pattern in their playing patterns rather? So.
So honestly, we've been, again, having a very long journey, and India, has completely changed during that time, right? When we first launched Teen Patti in 2014, and we actually had a DAU of more than 3 million at that point of time, right? So we got the users, but with 3 million users, there were only 8 lakh credit cards available in the country, right, at that point of time. So even though people were paying, the only payment method was credit cards, and only, 1/4 of our audience actually had access to one. Or, not even access, right? That was the whole availability of payment methods across India. Right, so compare that to today, where everyone has a UPI. Everyone can pay through mobile channels, right? The world has completely changed. It has made definitely India much more viable, right? I think so. Definitely the opportunities are much better.
100%. Do you see that a lot of tier 3 cities are also participating in the in-app purchases and all?
Absolutely. So the in-app purchase phenomenon is actually across, right? You do not see metros only sort of paying, right? It's actually across, but you'll probably see better conversion rates even outside of metro for some games. So again, it depends on the content that you're offering and which audience it maps to. But again, right? These are the good things. There are also challenges the ARPUs are low, the expectation of the Indian user, in terms of game quality is also increasing, and rightly so, because they have access to global games. They're comparing our titles with the global titles, right? We have to do much more in our games to be able to, make a viable product. Not like in 2014 when we first launched Teen Patti, we had no clue of what a game was. We just made sure that the mechanic of Teen Patti was represented in front of the user, and we got users. Today, the audience needs much more. You have to definitely, do more in development. The ARPUs still are pretty low. CACs are high. Right, so there are challenges as well, but I think the opportunity is great. If you stay in the game, there will be success, and that's our mantra.
Sure, that's the mantra, guys. That's the
I
secret.
just wanted to add something.
Yeah.
I think we all look at ARPU and we all feel like, hey, we are at the bottom of the pyramid. But we look at ARPU. If you break ARPU into buckets, the top 5% of spenders are spenders as good as in anywhere in the world. The top 5% of Indian buyers are what Japanese buyers are. So I think as we move people to the top end, then the ARPU story also starts getting better.
That's an interesting data point. On that note, I'll ask Afsar. Afsar is, guys, as you know, one of the success stories that we have from India, who made an Indian game popular in Middle East and I guess other parts of the world too. And so what would be your advice? If a developer here would like to take the game to international audiences on international markets, geos. What would be your advice on that front?
So, if I'll probably take example of Parcheesi Star, because that game did not belong to us technically. It's a Spanish game. We were not culturally, did not have so much context of it as well. And we thought that this game looks like Ludo. Can we make it and try to see what happens after that? So we did that. I mean, the first version of Parcheesi Star, when we released, it was Ludo skinned off into Parcheesi Star. But then when the game went out, we did just one single thing, which was listening to the players at the end of the day. Every single review, what is it trying to say? What is it trying to mean? That gave us the context of Spain or Morocco of what they are looking for. We started localizing the game. We localized contextually the game as well. We were the one who introduced a classic and Spanish mode. And even the whole Spanish population doesn't know there is a classic or Spanish mode. It's just that we have introduced them in an easy form that, okay, when you go, it appears automatically what is selected. Is it classic for me or is it Spanish for me? So whatever is selected for them, they will go for it. And then they recall it through that. So we were very deep into what the players are looking for and then localizing the context for them as well. And that has helped us continuously in growing. And COVID, when it hit, I mean, LATAM was not playing Parcheesi Star at all. But when COVID hit, everybody was playing Parcheesi Star. Influencers were taking pictures of playing Parcheesi and posting it on Instagram. So I think... Organic. And that's what I'm trying to say. I mean, at the end, if you're listening to what the player is saying and listening very carefully, I think then you can get it right. I mean, localization is there, everything is there, but I think the ability to listen is what helped us.
Sure. So that's listening to players is what he suggests. But a quick show of hands here. How many of you actually watch esports or streaming, online streaming here? Can you show of your hand? Twitch or Loco or Router or any of this? Okay, great. So next question is primarily around that. Rajan, if I may ask, us 5G, Gen Z, and how do you see? I mean, I'm excited about esports as a segment, and how do you see? You have a investment into multiple companies there. With the introduction of 5G, the viewership will go up, and that would also bring in more gamers. Or what's your thought?
No, I think this is one area that we've seen absolutely crazy adoption and growth, both in terms of the number of players who are now getting engaged in professional gaming as a sport, but more importantly, the number of people who are watching others play, right? Which is the key for any sport. And since there are people here who have diverse interests, I'm just kind of setting the context. And this has changed drastically in India. I mean, I still remember when we pioneered esports through Nodwin, and I know you heard Akshat Rati in the morning, and the Dream Hack Festival that's going to happen 2 days ago. Akshat was consulting with me for a food business and someone who was, playing gaming in the night. And we said, he used to play as Lord Nod. And we said, let's go. We were in Europe and we saw he and Gautam, his co-founder, and we saw 20,000 people or 10,000, 15,000 at that time sitting in a stadium watching teams play, and watching them with the same oohs and ahs that we see in cricket, right? And we said, there's no way this can't come to India, right? And that's how Nodwin started that journey. And of course, now through Sky, we built tremendous grassroots play in tier 2, tier 3, because like any other sport, we truly believe that the champion for India or who will win a medal for the country will come from a tier 2, tier 3 sport, irrespective of what the sport is. And we are seeing that hold true everywhere. So I think the more we see people watch, the more we see people get entertained, the more we see people watching to play better, I think it's a very virtuous cycle that gets people in. And while we talk of mobile gaming, one of the things we also do at Jet Synthesis, we do the last mile monetization for the Steam platform, for the PC users in India. And I can tell you that the jump in that is probably massive, through the numbers that we are seeing in the last, again, 12 to 18 months, at a time when the rest of the world is seeing a little decline in console and PC. Because India, video gaming is still new for us, right? We missed the first few generations. We started on mobile. So I also see mobile gaming actually going cross-platform into many of those areas, which again are great feeders for esport, particularly because the visual and the environment gets much larger. And as we see more IPs being built in esport, as we see more publishers benefiting from esports, particularly in monetization of their games, as I said in the beginning, I think it's a very seamless transition from a casual gamer to a mid-core gamer to an esports thing. And now with cricket, simulated cricket, we are hoping, and we since we have a large, global market share, hoping that we can make cricket the new esport export to the world, through us.
It's exciting with the adoption, obviously, and the impact of esports into the entire gaming industry seems to be, there's a obvious contribution there, right? There's an interesting story. I met this college kid who made a game on Roblox, and it was actually streamed by one of the influencer, and then he started getting offers of 6 figures to buy that game, right? So it's interesting how this would make it. And keeping on that, Aditya, people do, there are successful companies across the world, and they see India's market as one of the key things. How important it would be now, with the market with 500 plus million users and smartphone users, how important it is for them to put their India into the strategic planning and their launch plans and so on.
I think we could do more. Just like, I think my goal is the top 20 global titles should at least get 10% of their business from India. Today, we are far away from that.
Sure.
So I think just things like this, I think it was great to see that there are so many people from outside of India here at the conference. That just shows that there is interest. But a lot of people are coming to see, hey, let's figure out what's going on before we take a big step here. So I feel just talking about India's gaming potential, the talent. In fact, I was in an interesting conversation last night where somebody said, 5G is not the unlock, UPI is not the unlock, the India's tech talent is the real unlock. So our global game is going to be built in India. Is it a big India grossing game? So I think there needs to be a tipping point. It's happening I think it's happening very slowly. If we can come together in industry to rapidly make that go up manyfold, 2024 should be the year. If you're a global game and if you don't have 10% of your business in India, you should be asking yourself, hey, why am I not doing it versus should I go to India?
100%, yeah. I remember in a few of the gaming companies, hey, you know what, I have so many downloads from India, but when it comes for the revenue, I'm somewhere in the bottom, right? I think that's changing now. People are looking forward to launch there. Now, keeping on that, both the developers that we have here, how far are we in building a top chart game from India, and how far are we, someone in the US playing our
In
top
terms of
grossing.
India's grossing list,
Yeah, not India's grossing list. I mean, in US grossing list, how far are we there?
I would take that question as, okay, when will we get to that title which is 1 billion in revenue across the globe probably?
Yeah, same.
I think it's a tough job, obviously. We have to be innovators in that sense. None of the titles, if you look at throughout the world, none of the titles are a repeated success if they are a $1 billion revenue makers. And I think that is, but one thing which is common in all is they are simple titles. I mean, they are very simple games that have been built really, really well and for a mass audience. I think your game design, your product design, your economy, everything comes together when in a simple way. I think you'll get a mass success, a mass audience coming to you. We will get there, obviously, but I think there are few years to be there. Uh, let's reach few titles with 100 million revenues per year, and then I'll probably 500, and then I think we'll get to 1 billion very soon after that.
What's your thesis? And it's interesting. He said that simple games, simple product design, and do you think that's sufficient enough for us to crack top grossing charts?
See, if you look at gaming, right, and games that have made $1 billion, new genres come every 5 to 7 years, right?
Fair point.
Other than that, you generally people are just,
Fair
playing
point.
around with existing genres. So breakthrough genres are created every 5 to 7 years, right?
Sure.
For example, battle royale. Previous to that, it was Clash of Clans, and that, right? I mean, new genres are not. I mean, they're not. I think it's more a hit and miss story, right? We may be lucky to actually get a new genre. Some of us may invent a new genre, in the future. So, we'll keep our fingers crossed. But I think in gaming, you just stay in the game, right? And I told you, right? Stay in the game, continue building stuff. You might just become lucky to actually get a $1 billion title. And I agree. Titles that generally work are titles that just get their job done. They're simple. They are aesthetically done. They work, right? These are core properties. A lot of glitter, sometimes helps, but is not always necessary.
Sure. Rajan, do you have any opinion on that? How far?
Yeah, I was, saying that therefore you see these mid-core games, right? I mean,
Sure.
and some of those games to develop a billion-dollar game also costs you hundreds of millions of dollars.
Sure.
So today, companies are investing in millions. Okay, maybe we've now reached the tens of millions in terms of investment. But even with those levels of investments, the kind of talent that you have to get globally to be, relatively sure shot, right? I mean, we are part of a creative industry, and I think the beauty of a creative industry is this, right? It's that hit and miss and the ability. But even if you follow process, data science, and a lot of other things that are there, it is an expensive process and journey to build those kinds of games, and it's getting increasingly competitive today, given that everybody has access to so much data which is also available. The ones who are ahead are already ahead in many ways. So I don't think it's as simple. You will have that one luck chance, if you do it. So to me, actually the game that will create it is actually massively complex. I mean, of course, complex from the back end, but I think what you're mainly simple from the user experience, but it's going to require significant investment. And I think if we feel that, I mean, I know there are many startup founders here and others. Yes, it is a journey. Yes, you got to do your best. You need to see and look at this as a business that you're going to stay behind for a while. You're going to invest deeply into. Yes, someone can get lucky and create, some success, as that happens in any creative industry. But by and large, you'll find a good, systematic, process-driven, high quality, high talent, approach is probably going to ensure greater success. And as we build that, that base of studios and companies and the talent pool, I think that excellence and that number of billion will come.
100%. Great. Now, staying on that, maybe Aditya, you might like to quickly comment on how can someone build, we have diverse group of audiences in India, right? So what someone should, what are the measures someone has to take when they are building content or game for the diverse groups here? So,
I never built a game, so I can't be sitting in front of a group of folks who are building games day in and day out on how to build a game. But all I can say is there is a lot of rich analytics that are available. If you don't have an analytics team, I think you should think about it. I think creative and building the game is great, but analytics can supercharge everything that you do. And hence, understanding the kind of people who are playing your game, where they are playing from, what are the points in your game that are dropping off in, is your game working well on different devices, is your game not loading in time. I think just getting your head around the analytics more deeply. I find that a lot of the global studios do that really well. I feel we come from a culture of where we understand data and numbers well as a culture, and maybe that's an opportunity for us to think more deeply as a community. But I think the folks here will better. Like, do we do justice, do you think, to the analytics side of game development? Do you think there's more space there? You think you already spent a lot of time doing it? I'm not sure.
I think if you're talking about, if you take GBL, I think we have built a very strong powerhouse of data analytics, and I think I would love to help folks get that there as well, because I think one of the biggest advantages that we have is our data analytics powerhouse, and Google is well aware of that. I mean, there are a lot of Google team that they have come in and they have been bamboozled by, okay, what depth are we going into it? And I'm pretty sure, I mean, there are folks like Play Simple, they have a very strong powerhouse of data analytics as well. And the importance of data analytics in gaming is unprecedented. Like, if you are not doing it, I think you're going to miss out in this market for sure. And the reason why I feel Turkey has been one of the biggest success stories in gaming because of data analytics. I mean, the folks at Peak, the folks at Dream Games, they are massive data diggers, and they just keep every nuance of the business at tip of their hands. And you have to deal with folks like that. I mean, you have to compete with them, so you have to be as strong in data analytics as they are.
Fair enough. So sort of this one question that I want to ask, you have been into the gaming industry, your studio is there for some time now, and how do you guys go about, when you want to build a new game, right? You look at the demographic, or you look at, or it's the idea first and do the research, or if you have to advise folks here. I'm sure a lot of gaming companies here, like we ourselves, we're a fairly small company, but we kill a lot of ideas. We build game and quickly test it and kill it all. So what's your approach when you actually, come up with new ideas, and you do get excited like any other founders, like, this will make it,
Right. So see, we've had our fair share of failures, right? So, honestly, if we knew what it takes to actually make a successful game, we would have made every game a success. Sure. But, out of maybe a dozen games, we've had like maybe 3 successes, which I would call successes, over whatever, $20-30 million of revenue.
Sure.
Right. Over time, my approach has actually changed, right? Earlier I was making games and thinking that they will create a market. Right now, I'm looking at markets and saying, can we push games into those? Right. So we're getting into, like, for example, the last game that we put our energy into was actually social poker, which already was a $600 million market in the US. Right. I think हमारा ये approach, maybe it changed because of Teen Patti, because we launched Teen Patti, we got millions of users, but the Indian market did not grow to the same level with casual games at the same pace that we were expecting, right? And, I think we went into then sort of real money genre where the market was already large and we were able to create a much larger success there. So I think we are looking at more markets that we can cater into, as opposed to games that can get markets that can then pay, right? So that's something that, internally we've made a change on. But again, I am not sure that is the right approach, right?
Everyone has their.
Everyone.
I mean, you are a studio. You have like a couple of successful titles, but I'm sure there is always this hunger of, what is my next, or maybe like $1 billion game, right? So what's your approach? I mean, how do you go about that?
Well, I completely agree with Saurabh. I think I can understand where he's coming from and how his stories have modified. It's pretty much same for us as well. I think how we are approaching now is slightly different. I mean, we are looking at our own strengths and then using that strength to modify where we can sit in, or probably what are the opportunities we can capture it. The second thing is, okay, if you are looking for a success in a particular genre, then you have to spend a lot of time in that genre, and you have to be the best in that genre. Till that point, you cannot give up. So I think the approach, second approach would be picking a genre, sticking to that genre, and like marrying that genre. Unless you have married a genre and like being with that genre for years, you're not going to be a star over there for sure.
Or maybe genre very close to that genre, like someone
That
who's
is
like puzzle game.
adjacent is
Like
one way of
someone who is like match 3 can go to bubble shooter and look at that genre. And from your standpoint, Rajan, two questions. One is obviously you run an incubator, and how do you see that go about, and what do you look at the startups there? And number two is that I want to understand the sentiments of VC community. Last couple of years have been up and down, so would love to understand what your thoughts are on that.
No, so I think it's a very interesting question. You said, how does one look at it, right? And given that we are an ecosystem player, we have multiple assets. So I think both the things that you mentioned, right, from an outside view, because it's a huge market, right? It's a 90 billion global mobile market. I mean, if we take out that, and growing aggressively. So there's enough for Indian game developers to go and get, because, gaming as a industry is a global industry, right? You can create from India for the world. So that's a great way. Picking genre like sports, cricket, going deep into that and owning that is definitely a way. But I think the third way, and to your question, is right, really the drive of the founders and the people who are sitting here as to what does it take to become successful, right? I mean, and we at Jet Synthesis are looking at it in two angles, right? One, those who have gone through that whole rigor and created the go-to-market, are there, who have a product. Really, how do you scale that and how do you build that? And I think that's a very expensive journey. We find many companies, find hard to get from where they are to where they want to go, because what got you here will not take you there. Typically
100%.
in gaming, right? You need to add, like what we said, data science, so many other things to it to take. And sometimes you don't have the ability to invest in that, you don't. So one model of Jetapult, catapulting a studio or catapulting a founder to go to the next level, which is very disruptive growth, is one space which, we focused on. And the second is really finding that those people who have the drive, who have the thing, where I think the quality of the entrepreneur is most important. I mean, as we were coming up, right, we said sometimes entrepreneurship is just there, right? I mean, you can teach entrepreneurship in a room, but you have to see that and being able to identify those people and being able to work collaboratively. So I think our thesis is simple. All that we will be, we'll be the wind beneath your wings, right? You have the strength, you have the wings, you have to fly. We are here to see what we can do to support you to fly. And I think that approach, to me, in a country like India, if we get many more who look at it that way, it's different. So therefore, we don't categorize ourselves as venture capitalists and others, because there I'm looking at what is my return in a period, right? I mean, Clearly venture, because I'm an LP in many venture funds, and I'm going to go to the fund and say, hey, how much money did you make for me, when I'm a fund, right? Because the deliverable of a venture fund is different, right? We look at more long-term. We want to see how we can support, and therefore that incubation journey, and really to see companies succeed, to see companies grow. And fortunately, we've seen a few go into the hundreds of millions. We've seen at least 2, and we are hoping to see many others, over a period of time happen in that space.
Sure. So,
to add, I keep telling Rajan that you give the companies the money, and then Google will try and see how we can give them all the tech stack to help. So this could be a good partnership that we build together.
Absolutely.
But I think there's a lot of incubators going on in the country. So I think if you have access to capital and access to skill, then that becomes a good meeting place to see how to build.
You have your own couple of accelerators.
We have a couple of accelerators, and I mean, nice to see some of them here today. 29 Card Game, Studio Encore, Hitwicket, Super Gaming. The Play Simple was one of the earlier companies that ran through our accelerator. So there are, I think the opportunities, there are many companies and there are fewer opportunities. But I think this is something that I think is close to everybody's heart, to see how we can shape the next set of exciting companies.
So real quick, what should someone do to be part of that accelerator? And in your case also, in your incubator?
We have 2 flagship programs. The first one is called the AppScale Academy that we run with Meti. Every year we select 100 companies. and we mentor them for 8 months. We take gaming companies and non-gaming companies as well. Applications open up end of the year, so look out for that. The other one is a dedicated gaming accelerator. It's called Gaming Growth Labs. It's all the details available online, and again, that's an annual batch of 25 companies that we pick up every year and go very deep specifically on all things gaming.
Rajan.
So, we through our Jetpreneur model, which is an entrepreneur model, so we people who work within our different teams, we encourage them to become entrepreneurial and really take an idea, we support, grow, and see how we can help them scale. That's one. And one which we just announced yesterday with Brink, where we are committing about $200,000 for 25 gaming startups over the next year that we will see how we can incubate and take to the next level.
Brink, PRINC, right? So they are here. So real quick show of hands here, guys. How many of you are using AI in your game development life cycle right now? Okay, so this is possibly one of the most interesting topic from last 9 to 12 months right now. So what's your take on this? Maybe we can start with Afsar. What's your take on it? And how can Indian developers take a leverage of this tech, and whether it's applied AI or Gen AI, right? So
To start with, some of the very interesting things that we have started experimenting with is bringing AI in our live operations, which is so a lot of art creation, or especially the background creations. There's less creativity involved, more grunt work required over there. So probably that is a very sweet spot of replacing it, some AI generated content. The second thing that we have started using is prototypes, where quickly game designers could use AI to do some of the stuffs and give a picture of what it might look like, which kind of streamlines a lot of process post that. Because now suddenly you have created a picture of that thing using your imagination and some tools, which has made it easy for actual artists to spend time and get the right thing out there. So it reduces the iteration time over there. I think that is the second thing. Third thing is, again, the bot systems have improved. You can match the players with better players, and I think that these are the three obvious things that we have started using, and I would love to hear more.
Saurabh, did you start using Saurabh in your development life cycle?
Yes, so we are also using it for our marketing creatives.
Lovely.
But we are also trying to do more, right? For example, we are using ChatGPT and the AI infrastructure to figure out how a user is playing poker, right? We're trying to understand what his obvious misses are, trying to highlight the games that he's played well or not played well.
Sure.
We're then also using AI now, for example, creating automated videos with actually full commentary from those gameplays. It's very interesting, it's amazing what people can do now with AI, right? I mean, some of the things you can just you first have to imagine and then try doing them, and you start seeing success. Recently we also did customized avatars in our poker game, right? So you can take a snapshot, upload a picture of you, right, and we'll give you a downloadable 3D asset with your avatar, right? So we tried doing that. So we've been trying to use AI in different parts, still in experimental stage mostly, but very interesting.
Sure. And Rajan, any of your companies started using?
Yeah, actually, AI, I always say gaming, AI is inbuilt, right? You're always challenging the person to go a little more than what it is. And to me, that itself has been AI first. So what is exciting is Gen AI, generative AI. And we are using it also a lot on the production side, right?
Sure.
Because today we are seeing that there is a lot of work that can get done, through generative AI. And I truly believe that, AI combined with quantum computing, which is going to make processing 1 billion times faster, is going to change the paradigm significantly for every industry, but a lot for our industry, particularly because, the way people will both create content and the way they will consume and play content will change drastically.
Yep.
And I think you can't do it without that. So the immersive experiences, everything, will go much deeper and will become far easier for, gaming companies to handle as these two things work together. And therefore, building for that is probably something we're already working on.
Sure. And Aditya, do you want to, before that, I would quickly, we have time for like couple of questions. If anyone wants to ask a question, you can line up here close so that we can hear you better, because we have little difficulty. Someone from our console team can give you a microphone. So, yeah.
At Google, we are deeply embracing AI. Literally, the product charter is how can every product get supercharged on the back of AI rails? Everything from maps to search and YouTube. But we're also building a bunch of AI tools that our partner community can pick up and use. I've been talking to a lot of people in gaming and beyond about how to use AI. I think a good starting point is always, hey, AI is a business enabler. It either has to help you cut cost or it has to help you delight the customer more so they spend more money on you. So I think you've got to figure out where you want to play. And I think this is the time to experiment. There are so many tools out there to see. I think as we experiment, maybe one of the folks here will come up with a killer use case for AI in gaming, and that will create a lot of velocity.
100%. Do we have any questions here? Well, I'll take that as no. Great. Oh, there is someone. Yeah. Good. Great.
So, what's your thoughts around government coming up and imposing 28% GST on gaming? Is it like good for the market to bring people who are developing games like poker, Teen Patti under the carpet and trying to save some money, or is it bad for the Indian industry?
So it's possibly one of the most sensitive topic that we have. We might like to, if any of them from the developer community might like to answer
I'll
that.
take it. Right. So I mean, we launched social Teen Patti, social apps, right? No real money apps back in 2014, right? The monetization, I mean, India has been a, regulatory gray area. Right, so people were launching real money apps at that point of time as well, and the ARPUs, LTVs, etc. were very high, right? So honestly, I mean, we are actually excited about the clarity that is coming, and the way the government is coming in with the I mean, at least indicating that there's going to be a regulator for games in the future. So we are excited about regulation in gaming because we believe that that would keep the industry, growing, and it's not going to be the most ambitious guy, or the most risk-taking guy who takes, the most advantage. But again, right? I mean, I think India gaming needs to make money. And that money is going to then get invested back into the ecosystem, right? So we obviously also want to make money, in the ecosystem, and where the government comes in and hampers that, that's something that we don't like. Yeah.
Great. If you don't have any question, I think we'll wrap this up here. And last chance. Anyone has a question? Great then, guys. Right.